All right, trying something different as far as audio is concerned. I'm actually going to record the audio onto my iPhone because that's the only way to merge both channels at the same time. I'm always leery about going down this hill on a full charge, but I've never had any tilt back. But I tend to go like around 30 miles an hour down this road, and I'd hate to get tilt back going that fast. So I just keep it to 20. Sit down, relax, and coast. I think because the battery's so big, there is still room. I don't know much about batteries to say why it doesn't tilt back like the other one, but I'm pretty certain it has something to do with the capacity of the battery versus the little battery. First time wearing a jacket in a long time. Kind of weird to be doing in California. One thing I learned though about, I'm like immediately changing the subject, about recording yesterday, is that if I raise my voice, I'm used to recording on my phone, and so I talk real loud through my helmet so that my phone picks it up. But with these new mics, the yelling doesn't sound all that great on the mics because it sounds like I'm yelling. And even though the wind in my helmet sounds pretty loud right now from going down the hill, when I listen to it, my voice sounds just fine. So, anyways, today will be an experimental video. Hey, FYI, when you're deleting videos off your Insta 360 One X, when you do it via the laptop as if it's a thumb drive, it still thinks all those files are on your computer, which is why after deleting everything, it still thought I hardly had any space yesterday. So I had to go onto my app and delete things. All right, now that I'm down here, I can start cruising my normal speed. Kind of weird to have a foggy morning. Feels a little strange to be riding along here in this peaceful environment. Once I get to work, it seems like the culture is completely different. Like this hyper-vigilant COVIDness going on. So here's the protocol for a student getting COVID, and we don't even know if they come down with COVID. But if they start showing any symptoms, and these symptoms cover everything, it seems, they are sent home and told to quarantine for 10 days, even if they have a negative test. Now, there's a reason behind the whole negative test, because even if they had it, it could still show up later on during the 10 days that they're being quarantined. So I get that. But then you have to quarantine all the classrooms that they were in if you don't know who they were sitting next to. For example, if the teacher doesn't have a seating chart, then you have to send the whole class home. But if they do have a seating chart, then it's all those kids who have been within a 6 feet proximity of the student. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and turn left here because I ride seated almost all the time to work, and I still haven't gotten good at taking off from the seated position. So in that sense, I still feel like a beginner. I always go through red lights in those situations because I don't get sensed. If there's sensors, and if it's a timer, then I'll be waiting even longer. So when there's no oncoming traffic, I go through the red light. All right, back to COVID. So yeah, we send the kids home, and they all quarantine. So for example, if 2 kids come down with something, or even a teacher, you have to dismiss all their classes. So we're talking upwards of 160 plus students that get sent home for a few days, for 10 days. And then if it's another student and you don't know who they're sitting next to, and that's another 160. So then you're talking about over 300 kids. And if you're depending on the size of your school, like in my case, our school is about 1,000, so 300, that would be almost a third of the school gone on quarantine. Oh, and on top of it, then you have to notify the whole school that there's been a confirmed case. And then you have to notify all the quarantined peeps. So, we send out 2 messages when that happens. So, I don't know how much it's happening in our district, but tell you what, this Delta variant seems to be going around a lot quicker than the previous variant, because I probably went a good year and a half without knowing anybody at work, my personal social circles, or family that had gotten COVID. Now I know a bunch of people. Students, co-workers, friends, family. It's probably what I got this summer. Then lots of people with the vaccine getting it. Still a small percentage of those vaccinated, but in my mind, enough to take a second take about the vaccine. That is interesting, according to the data from Israel in regards to those who were vaccinated versus those who got COVID and recovered, about the likelihood, I think I got this right, the likelihood of getting it again, you were less likely to get it again if you had naturally gotten COVID than if you had gotten the shot. So, hard data there behind being inoculated naturally. Not that I purposely did that, but one thing to consider though is, if you're working, you got to think about all the time off that you have to take in order to recover, even if your symptoms are relatively mild. I probably could have gone back to work relatively soon. I just definitely would not have been running around with the kids because my energy levels were so low. This is the coldest morning I've ridden to work since I started work this year. This road's become so busy. Put in hundreds of houses. This development off to my right for 55 and older is new. And then towards the end here, of this street, lots of new houses. Anyways, back to COVID. So I don't remember what the rule is, but there is a point at which the school closes down, and it has to do with so many connected cases that occur, I believe, but I don't remember the top of the number. I don't remember the number off the top of my head. So we'll see with this Delta variant here spreading around like butter. Who knows, we just might have, we might end up having enough cases where we don't have school at one point. Or we're like only have half our kids in session at any given moment because so many are out. Red light. See, I think these are timed. I'm just going to race ahead of this van. You guys ever notice when you're seated and riding, you lean forward, but then if you put an arm out, there's definitely more acceleration that's going on. I can feel the difference. Like it just gives you a lot more oomph. And of course it would, because you're leveraging the torque more with the weight of your body. Some people checking out the wheel. Traffic. What's this guy doing? Hopefully the mic on the back of my wheel is still there. Hasn't fallen off yet. Even during my crash, it didn't fall off. So that's good. Oh, still there. Oh, and a green light. I like to stand through intersections because that is a point of highest danger for, I guess, anybody. Let's especially for cyclists, motorcyclists, wheelists, whatever, people, pedestrians. Anyways, I have greater control of the wheel when I'm standing. Although, it seems like when you're gonna crash, it's better to be seated. You are definitely closer to the ground. All right, we are approaching the scene of the accident. So last week, I think it was on Wednesday, I was approaching this corner. I slowed down, my tire was pretty low, came around, and as soon as I hit that dip right there, I went down. It's pretty wonky and wobbly. But now I'm running a little over 40 PSI, new tube. Debated changing my tire out, but I've got a ride coming up this Sunday, and there wasn't any way that the tire was going to get here in time, and I just thought I wanted to run the tire flat anyways. Run the tire flat. Run it bald. I hate it when I have to go on this side and then cross over. Ever since schools were back in person, there is so much more traffic on the road when I go to work. It's a bit of an adjustment, maybe it still is. So I definitely have to watch the roads more. Than I did before. This stretch to work is probably my least favorite. It's the longest stretch. And it's not that interesting, riding big roads like this off to the side. I used to ride on this sidewalk all the time. It was fun at first because it's kind of curvy. But then you get to wanting to do a certain speed, and going up and down these ramps on the sidewalk gets to be a bit of a point of danger when you're going real fast. Then you're dealing with all these little like tight turns and going off the curb and then turning. Well, every time I hit a bump, I'm worried about my mic. Going through the red light here because I don't want to stop. I have no interest in jogging as exercise. Every morning I pass this couple up here on the left. The guy wearing a neon shirt, and the wife wearing a red. It's always this section, which is interesting because I leave at 7 o'clock every morning pretty much on the nose, so that means they're pretty consistent. We're there. Alright, this guy's turning right. stop so nobody come through. Ever since getting this clear lens for my Ruroc helmet, there's been a big improvement on this helmet. Again, I wouldn't buy this helmet again, but a huge improvement all the same. Just the peripheral line of sight is not the same. Like, I can see the rim of the goggles all the way around. I just enjoy the ride so much more when I'm full face. The only thing is eye protection. Like when I'm doing a long ride, I'm not so concerned about I'm not so concerned about having a full face helmet because I'm going slow. But then I don't have the eye protection. So then again, isn't that big of a deal? But it ended up being a big deal at night with the bugs. But you just can't see as well when you have goggles on at night, even when they're clear. There's something about the lens. There's a radar speed sign up here that I use to calibrate my wheel. I don't know how accurate it is, but I do a correction of 8%. It's pretty dead on. I tried 9%, but I just seem to push it way off, so. I feel like starting there's an Iron Butt Association for motorcyclists for distance riding. They have an approved method of documenting your rides. And then they have different patches that you can get for completing these rides. You send all your documentation in, and then they send you the patch, a certificate. You send them some money, but it pretty much just pays for what you're getting back, so. I guess ultimately you're just paying them for validation. Okay, my ride's been validated. Oh, there's a car here. I'm going to go this way. I don't think I've been going that fast to work. I usually cruise between 30 35. And I don't know. Although 30 on this wheel feels like 20. So I guess I can really go over my medians. Left hand is so cut up from doing right, from doing the tire change. All right, I'm gonna turn the video off here because I'm getting to an intersection where there's a bunch of miners. So, later.